Hello friends, and welcome to episode 2 of Conversations with Spirit. I have to admit and say to you that getting ready for this particular recording has had my nerves through the roof. The way that the first video unfolded and the way that this whole series was birthed was so inspiring, and it was so exciting, and it was so motivating, and I couldn't wait to see what episode 2 was going to be about and how it was going to unfold. I'm learning. And I think we're all doing this. We're learning how to trust. We're learning how to just trust spirit, to trust situations, to trust circumstances, to trust that things are going to unfold and happen in whichever way that they need to. So before I get into too many more details, I'm like so excited, I'm sort of jumping right into the middle of it. Before we get into too many more details, let me just take a minute to thank you for being here. If this is the first time that you are watching Conversations with Spirit, welcome. It's so lovely to have you here. So Conversations with Spirit are basically me sharing my spirit ramblings that I have on a continuous basis. So being clairaudient means that I have the ability to hear spirit, and yeah, I hear voices in my head. I'm just going to put it out there. I hear voices in my head, and you know what? I'm constantly having a dialogue, especially when I'm working. So I am a full-time psychic medium. I consult on a daily basis. The only time I'm not consulting is when I'm recording videos for you guys. And it's what I love. It's what I'm passionate about. My whole existence is to help you be a better version of yourself. I say that a lot on this channel because it's the truth, okay? It is the reason why I do everything that I do. And it's becoming more and more clear to me that spirit are wanting me to share whatever these ramblings are. I'm not supposed to be selfish. I'm not supposed to keep them for myself. I'm supposed to be sharing them. Now, I'm not really a structured kind of person. What I mean by that is I'm not the kind of person who could read screen prompts, okay? I just talk. I just let things flow. I don't like too much structure. I don't like too much routine. Actually, I don't like routine at all. I like to just let things happen. I go with the flow. I'm a go with the flow kind of girl. So Conversations with Spirit, I've tried to structure it. No, it just doesn't work. So I think I've created anxiety for myself around our second episode of Conversations with Spirit because I tried to structure it. I tried to do it the right way. So I'm now going with the flow. I have my topic, I have my concept, I have kind of a broad idea of what it is I need to say, and I'm just going to go with it. So like I did with episode 1, I'm going to show you my ramblings. They are not neat. They are not tidy. They're certainly not amazing. So if you're wondering why there's this purple block on the screen, it's because that's where I'm going to put my ramblings up. I'm trying to embrace technology. I'm trying to use technology to our advantage because I've been told apparently that technology makes our life easier. Yeah, the jury is still out on that one. I like journaling, I like pen and paper, I like writing, I like all of that. So now doing it on the iPad, there's certainly benefits to it. There's certainly things I'm loving about it. But at the same time, there's certainly some challenges. Neatness is not my forte. I like to think that I'm a creative being, but I'm certainly not, any kind of professional journaler, or anything like that. So my ramblings that I'm going to show you is just to try and show you how it works with spirit. So the topic, the conversation, if you've seen the topic of this particular video, the file name of this particular video, you will know what the Conversation with Spirit is all about. This episode 2, and it's about knowing when. So knowing when, I actually did a thing, and I'll share a bit with you just now, where I posted onto my Facebook group. I've got a tiny little Facebook group, keeping it intimate, keeping it small. Anybody's welcome to join, but I am quite strict as to who gets in. So in my little Facebook group, I actually put a thing and saying, right, so this is going to be our next Conversation with Spirit. This is the topic, what comes to you? And it was very interesting to see the way that people interpreted it. So for me, even when I got the topic, and it was quite interesting, again, the way that it came through from Spirit was the topic came through loud and clear, knowing when. And then there was this kind of like overwhelming, a lot of kind of scenarios, if I can put it that way, that were thrown at me. And I was like, I can't keep up. So I had to get the tablet out and I had to scroll. And I had to scribble quickly because my brain is like a sieve. If you've had a consult with me, or let me rephrase it, if you've had a second or a third or fourth or whatever, consult with me. I start off most of my readings saying to people, if we've spoken before, forgive me, I'm not going to remember stuff, okay? Because I do consult on a daily basis, and because it's back-to-back appointments, I can't remember a conversation that happened with somebody, a couple of months ago. It's impossible, but I also choose not to remember. I don't want to carry the weight and the burden of everybody's challenges and problems. I've got my own, which are heavy enough. So it's about being selective as to what I choose to hold on to and what I choose to let go of. So the consequence of that is this memory of mine is like a sieve. Things come in and things go out, in and out, and there's no real kind of bus stop, if I can put it that way. So if I get something from Spirit that I need to remember, I need to write it down. So let me show you, and I'm not going to spend too much time on the ramblings. I'm literally just going to show you that how it happened over a period of days. I do have cards in front of me as well, which I'm going to take you through. And let's just have this conversation of knowing when. All right, so I need to do something on the computer so that you can see what it is that I need you to see. And what I need to do is that. There we go. So here you can see is my iPad. I've tried to get it to fit. I know it's off center. Those of you with OCD, I do apologize. Please forgive me. I've tried as much as I can. Again, trying to embrace technology here. So here is my iPad, and this is all handwriting, okay? This is my disgusting handwriting. I have got my artwork. This is artwork that I have purchased and modified, but this is one that actually I drew myself. So I'm trying to embrace my creativity. I'll zoom in and show you my little owl. I know I should be drawing butterflies and stuff, but in this particular case, it was an owl. So Conversations with Spirit, knowing when. So that's just the cover page as such. And everything I do is with my Apple Pencil. Apple Pencil's best invention ever. So let's scroll up. So this that you see here, okay, this was my initial ramblings. This is when I got the download, if I can put it that, from Spirit. Like, I had to scribble. So I scribbled really, really untidily, and I wrote topic knowing when, and I wrote when will. I didn't know the rest of the sentence. So just when will. And then the next part, and again, please excuse the atrocious handwriting. This is not, and I'm not the kind of person who's going to go and tidy it up afterwards just to show you. Let's be real, let's be honest, this is how it works, okay? So this was my first sitting when I first got the topic. This is what I wrote down. When will. And I think, when will is enough, because we fill in the rest of the sentence or the rest of the question. The other thing that I said is we spend our lives waiting for when to happen. And this is the truth. We do. We spend so much of our time waiting. We spend so much of our time, like, I'm going to get into it in a second. And then I commented and I wrote again, so much time waiting, because, this was the overwhelming kind of feeling that came through. And so this is what opened up the conversation with Spirit. This is what started, me saying, well, when, what, who, when, how, okay? So I'm not going to read through all of this, but just to show you the kind of conversations. This was a second, you can see it's different. I don't want to say it's different handwriting, but you can see I was in a different frame of mind. This was just quick needing to write it down. This was taking my time, going through it afterwards. Another scenario that I wrote at a different time. You can see the handwriting is different every time. Some things work better at certain times, but this rule doesn't apply to everyone or everything. Knowing your whens is important. Knowing doesn't mean only if. And I think, again, another key thing that we're going to talk about. But I just want to show you how the ramblings work. So this is my Conversations with Spirit. We have things, we suddenly have huge words. I had to look up the meaning of the word. We've got some questions that we need to ask, and I've added another doodle in there. Like, what does that even mean? This is what I've said there. What does that even mean? And then we had another conversation, and then we had another conversation, and then I drew a card, and we had some conversation around the card. We drew another card, and we had another conversation around that card. We had another conversation there about a metacognition. Like, OMG, it was all crazy stuff. And then here are, and I'm going to take you through these just now, but those are the things that came up on my Facebook group to when I just posted up and said, knowing when, what does that mean to you? So, All right, friends, so I have switched off the camera pointing at the iPad just because I don't want to bore you reading all my babble. Sometimes I can't even read myself, but I am going to scroll through it and I am going to reference it myself because there are certain things in there that are going to trigger conversations that I need to share with you. All right, so like I said, I don't want to spend our time, reading, because otherwise I could have just, posted the pictures on social media and you could have read it. This is about a conversation, and it's a conversation that I'm having with Spirit that I'm sharing with you. So as you saw, the first thing that came through was knowing when. And I was saying to Spirit, like, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Is it something we're doing too much of, or is it something we're not doing enough of? And immediately what came through to me from Spirit, and even right now, I mean, the voices are getting louder and louder in the head, but what comes through to me around that is there are times in life where we have to know when. There are times in life where we have to wait for the right moment, for the right situation, for the right scenario before we engage, before we start, before we begin, before we initiate. But we're also in other areas of our lives. We're spending too much time waiting for the perfect moment and missing opportunities. We've got to start asking ourselves the question of when. All right, when is the right time for us, for our families, for the particular situation and for the particular scenario? We've got to start questioning everything that we do. And we've got to start saying, let's not just follow like sheep as to what everybody else is doing. Just because somebody else waits for a certain time to do a certain thing in their life doesn't mean that we have to. But now let's just backtrack a second. The scenario and example that came through from Spirit was, and I'm going to say imagine you are, but it may not be relevant or appropriate for all of you watching, because I'm going to say imagine and pretend that you are a woman, but a lot of you watching are not women or don't identify as women. And so just be with me, okay? Just be with me. So we have a woman who is married and she has fallen pregnant. I'm not talking from the perspective of the woman who has fallen pregnant. I'm actually talking from the perspective of the child, okay, of the soul, right? Sorry, I had to correct it, of the soul. So the lady has now fallen pregnant. She is now with child. The soul has connected with her. The soul has chosen her as the human mom that's going to bring soul to this earth plane. Immediately once said lady is pregnant, she immediately starts waiting for when the baby is born. When I get to the stage of my pregnancy, then this is going to happen. When I get to the stage of my pregnancy, this is what's going to happen. And so it goes until the when of the baby is born. Now, does that always work out according to plan? No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. It does not always happen that way. But, sorry, just had a moment's panic that it wasn't actually recording, but it is. So, right, let's go back to our lady. So she has a when for when baby is going to be born. And she sticks with that. And everything in her life adjusts and changes around that when. Sometimes baby comes early. Sometimes baby comes on the date. Sometimes baby comes later. Sometimes baby doesn't come, okay? Life happens. Once baby is born, she's not like, yay, everything is done and everything is fancy and everything is great. Actually, immediately, the next series of whens kick into play. Now suddenly we're going, okay, when I go home with baby, when baby's eating solid food, when baby gets a tooth, when baby's sitting, when baby's walking, when baby's running, when baby goes to school, all of these whens. And it's almost like our life is measured by the when. And I think this is exactly what Spirit is saying. We are so conditioned and we are so bound by when that we've actually forgotten to live. That's in a nutshell, okay? So you can actually stop the video now because you've received the message. I'm going to elaborate, of course I'm going to elaborate. But that was the conversation that came through, is that we spend so much time waiting for when that we've actually stopped living. We've almost become robotic in the next when. And when we get to that when, we move on to the next when, and the next when, and the next when. So our lives are a series of whens. So when we fall pregnant, the baby is coming. When we get to certain milestones, this happens. Then the next set of milestones, and so on. And if we don't reach those whens, if we don't reach those milestones, suddenly we're feeling like we're a failure. Suddenly we're feeling like we've missed the point, we've missed the boat, we've missed the truth, we've missed whatever. And actually, we need to take that pressure off ourselves. The truth of the matter is we need to be kinder to ourselves. We need to be gentler with ourselves. We need to be more honest with ourselves. And we need to not be living our life from one when to another. Okay. As I'm saying this now, I'm always so nervous about disrespecting people because let's be honest, it's easy to do and nobody wants to be. I was okay. So I'm in South Africa, and for those of you in South Africa, you'll probably understand what I'm referencing or what I'm referring to. People who a long time ago, and it's a kind of saying that we have about these people, not meaning to disrespect them, but it's classifying them, okay? And I'm referring to people who a long time ago were born in what was known as Rhodesia, it's now Zimbabwe, and these people came over into South Africa. They have been labeled and categorized as when-we's because their conversation was always about when we were in Rhodesia, when we were there, when we were there, when we were there. So they've been categorized as when-we's, and it's quite a fun thing. I am not a when-we. I am not such a person, but I have connections with people like that. So, which is why I know the term, and it's always it's not ever said in a derogatory way. It's actually said in a light-hearted, fun way. So, but there comes the knowing when, like when. That is living in the past. When you're talking about when we were, when we did, when we had, when we, we're living under the whens. And then we're like going forward. So we do it in the past and we do it going forward as well. And honestly, Spirit is saying that we're spending too much time living around the when, and we're not living our lives in the present. We're not taking advantage of opportunities around us because it's not the right time. It's not the right when. Okay, let me just see. Okay, so one of the other things that came through in my conversation with Spirit, because I do like to question stuff, okay? I don't take anything at face value. It's not who I am. I am the kind of person who go, well, why is it like that? Why do we think like that? Why does it have to be that way? Why do I have to accept it that way? I am that person who questions. So when Spirit tell me stuff, when they give me stuff, I'm not just going to go, okay, yes, you say so, therefore it is. Not me. I go, why? So Spirit, in the questions of asking, like, what does the word when actually mean? Why? What is it all about? And one of the first things that in my conversation with Spirit that came through was understanding the difference between a goal that we've set for ourselves, a goal that we want to achieve and accomplish, versus a when. And what I wrote, and I'm just going to read the little key phrase for you. Goals are things that we want that we know will bring us happiness, success, achievement, accomplishment in our life. So a goal is a conscious choice, a conscious thing that you set for yourself. Now, I know some of us set unrealistic goals and some of us set, good goals, bad goals, too many goals, not enough goals, that is itself is relative. But a goal is something that you consciously choose for yourself. It is something to work towards so that when you get there, you can tick it off and say, achieved. Okay, so that's a goal. A when is just like, well, it almost takes your power away because it's like, well, only when that happens, only then can I. So let me just switch it on again because I actually feel like I need to show you what I wrote, and I'm going to zoom in. Again, the bad handwriting, forgive me. So what I said here is whens are conditional. They tell us we can't do or achieve anything until something has happened. And this is the kicker here. Whens take our power away. And they make us feel like we're not in control. Okay? That's not saying that that's what a when does, but that's how a when makes us feel. So whens are conditional because it's like, I will be happy when that and that happens. I will be smart when I get my matric certificate. I will be smart when I graduate school. I will be only then. I'm not smart until then. And then when I get there, you realize, okay, I'm not smart enough. I need to do more. So it's always conditional. And our whens are like goalposts that keep shifting and moving. And when we keep saying to ourselves, only when that happens, it's like it's out of your hands. You know, you have no control. Yes, I know you can study, and yes, I know you can work towards the goal, but if you're saying to yourself, I will only be happy, or I will only be successful, or I will only be able to do that when, it's like the power is taken away from you. And this is what came through my conversation with Spirit, and this is Spirit saying we need to be mindful of that. Okay, I want to just scroll up in my text. So the next thing that sort of came through was obviously, obviously we need to recognize, and obviously we need to understand that whens are important, okay? This is not Spirit saying that when itself is taboo, illegal, and bad, because in some times in life, whens are important. But it's about recognizing that the same rule doesn't apply all the time, okay? Knowing your whens is important, and knowing doesn't mean only if. All right, I think that's the big thing that came through there. All right, scrolling up again. Now, on this, and again, I'm just going to quickly give you a flash view of it. On this particular page, you can see I've written spontaneity in big red letters. And just to read, because I don't know how to flip it. If I turn the tablet, the page stays the same. It's just the tablet that turns. So I don't know how to rotate. As I said, technologically challenged, I'm trying. So spontaneity, and it says a way of behaving. I can't read it over there. A way of behaving in which you do what feels natural and good whenever you want to, rather than planning things first. So spontaneity is the ability, or is doing something that feels natural or good rather than planning. So I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you were spontaneous? When was the last time you did something just because? When was the last time you woke up in the morning having a day pre-planned, a day of work, a day of chores, a day of shopping, a day of whatever, and you've woken up with this kind of urgent desire inside you to go and, I don't know, spend a day at the beach, and you've thought, you know what, scrap everything, stop everything, not doing what I'm supposed to. I am instead going to go and have a day with my family, a day with my friends, a day of leisure. When when was the last time you allowed yourself to be spontaneous? You know, it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought, because when I had that conversation with Spirit, I looked at myself and I asked myself that same question. And the disappointing thing, the scary thing, the sad thing is that it's been a very, very long time since I was that spontaneous. And, you know, if you asked me to describe myself, spontaneous would be a word that would be right up there with the best of them, because I don't like too much structure. I don't like too much routine. You know, I like to think of myself as a free spirit. I like to think of myself as somebody who goes against the grain. And spontaneity is often categorized in that way. So it saddened me that it's been a while since I've allowed any kind of spontaneity in my life. You know, we've become so, can I say, stale and boring? You know, are those appropriate words? Because we've become so focused on doing the right thing at the right time. We've become so conditioned, and I know, again, I say that so many times in my videos about this human conditioning, about this, you know, community conditioning and society conditioning and etc. And I understand that there's a time and a place for that. I absolutely do, and I certainly don't encourage people to go against. But I think on a personal level, we need to recognize what's happening here within our hearts and souls. Like, who are we under this exterior? What is the things that truly matter to us, and how are we moving towards that? What are we doing? What are we waiting for? You know, at what point in our lives are we going to be happy? At what point are we going to be okay? When? Okay? So just another example. Let's take somebody who has spent, I don't know, 40 years of their life working for one company. So they finished school, they finished their studies, got their relevant qualifications, whatever it was, got themselves a job, stuck with that one company, gave 8 hours a day, sometimes more, for 40 odd years to one company. Yes, they received a salary every month. Yes, they were able to raise a family and buy a home and blah, 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 blah. They've worked so hard. They were so focused and so dedicated on their job, on their career prospects. And they never really took many holidays. They never really traveled. They never really pursued a hobby or pursued a sport or did anything that was fun. They had short little bursts of fun, but only within limited, structure. With the saying, and I've heard it so often, when I retire, when I stop working, when I have enough money, when. You see where I'm going with all of this, don't you? Well, at least I hope you do. So I get it that, we can't do all of those things without the money. I get it, okay? I understand that there are certain wins that are important, but how many of us have stopped living waiting for when? And the conversation that I've had with Spirit over the last, because this conversation has been happening for about 2 weeks, okay, on and off for 2 weeks, and then I write a little bit and I go back and I write a little bit, and it just because there's a lot going on in the head. So how many of us have missed so many opportunities, so many times in life where we could have experienced, had, done, felt, whatever? How many of us have missed so much because we're waiting for when? And I honestly think the message that comes through so strongly from Spirit is that there's a time and a place for when. There are certain things that we can't speed up. Just like going back to my original analogy of a lady falling pregnant. It takes a certain amount of time for that baby to be developed, for that baby to grow, for that baby to be made, in her tummy. You can't speed it up. Yes, we can hurry things along, but there's no way that you can fall pregnant today and give birth to a fully grown, functional, healthy, happy, content baby in a week. It can't happen. Some things just take time. Like if you're baking a loaf of bread, once you have to wait for it to rise, and only when it's risen to a certain point do you stick it in the oven, and then you have to wait for an amount of time for it to happen. So there are times when is important. But basically, when are you wasting your life waiting for when? Okay. I just want to read if there was anything else there. So one of the things that I have there is, when was the last time you woke up and had the urge to do something out of normal and you actually went through with it? When? And honestly, I looked at my own life and it's been too long. It's been too long. Okay, so questions that we should be asking ourselves is, when will you be truly happy? Like, what's it going to take? What events, what scenarios, what situations are you waiting to happen before you can tick the box? Happy, tick. When? Okay. When will your finances be enough? And again, enough for what? Enough is relative, because enough for one and enough for another are going to be very different. But again, I had a conversation with a young lady the other day who is still, early in her life, in her adult life. And the question went around, when is she going to start a family? It's like society's pressure. Once you've finished school and you've found a job and you've started working, you're in a relationship, when are you getting married? When? Then, when you're in a committed relationship, immediately once you've reached that first goal, the next one is, when are you going to start a family? It's like all of these whens. And I said to her, when are you going to start your family? And she was like, when I have enough money. And I'm like, really? This is, again, one of the conversations that have happened in the last 2 weeks, all feeding towards this knowing when. Spirit do these things to me. It's amazing. I love it. So what are you waiting for? What the things that mean the most to you in life, the things that you really want, what are you waiting for? When are you actually going to give yourself permission to do it? And I'm hoping through this conversation that you're going to take a little bit of time to really look at that for yourself and to see that the wins don't matter. Don't matter. Okay. So I have to share this with you. Again, let me share the screen because it's nice to see. It's actually not really going to be visible for you. And if I zoom in, you're not really going to see it. Okay, you're just going to have to let me read it to you. So this was shared on Facebook by Brett Shuttleworth. And he shared it on the 7th of February. It was a Monday morning. Actually, I think he did it like the night before, but I saw it on the 7th of February. He shared it on Facebook on the 7th of February. And he has, I'm trying to see if I can zoom that you can read it a little bit. He says, my early Monday mornings have changed somewhat over the years. I used to wake up, actually, let's do that. I know it's going to be a bit distorting, but maybe it'll help you. So I used to wake up in a slight tension about what I need to do or become, and immediately I would plan my week for success, zone in on my goals. I know a lot of us do that. Monday morning especially, right, what's my week? What am I doing? And in our head, we go through all our when list, okay? He says, these days, I wake up and I stay in my bed, and I'm like, I like this guy. He says, then I witness, and you see how I've highlighted it because this is so important. Then I witness all the crap entering my mind, blah, blah, blah. And you know what, that again, it was all part of this kind of whole process of just observing. And if we observe the stuff, the whens that go on in our minds, blah, 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 okay? So instead of reacting to it, I let it drift by like the clouds in the sky. So he was observing his thoughts, recognizing his thoughts, and not responding or reacting, but just saying, let them float by, not attaching any significance or any urgency or any kind of feeling to it. And to me, this was so, so amazing. And then, to the best of my ability, he says, he takes an instant to withdraw attention, take away attention from whatever his internal, dialogue is. Okay, he says, I withdraw energy from whatever my latest point of view about my suffering is. I withdraw my energy from my latest point of view about my suffering is. Like, honestly, really sit with that, just to absorb that into your space. Read that, say it to yourself, because to me it was just so profound. You can see I tried to put all the arrows. Then immediately it becomes obvious. What is here? So once he's disconnected, once he's withdrawn himself from that internal kind of dialogue, and he says immediately that's where he gets it. The fullness, the richness, the love of oneself as conscious life. Key words for me, conscious life. And I honestly believe, I have already said in this already very long video, I do apologize, no I don't, in this, I've already commented how we've all become robotic, how we've all become like in automatic pilot, how we're just sort of moving forward. And that's why this kind of key phrase that he says here, so I withdraw energy from whatever my latest point of view about my suffering is. Then immediately it becomes obvious what is here. The fullness, the richness, and the love of oneself as conscious life. I love it. This realization becomes my greatest gift for the week. Conscious life for the week. No fears, no worries, no stress, no anxiety, no what happens if that doesn't happen? What happens if that happens? What happens, when? Instead, he's like, just let it all go in the here and in the now. Let's focus on being the best that we can be without all of those conditions. Okay, so he then says, love to know what your methods are, blah, 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 blah. What I wrote here, and I don't know if it's going to fit. I love that he is no longer waiting for something to happen, and he's not chasing something either. His when is right there in that moment. He's not like, feeling the urge to push a button, to go a place, to do a thing. He's just like in the here, whatever I'm doing now, whatever it is that's important, my point of view right now, that's the only place that I put my focus and put my attention. And to me, that is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. All right. So one of the other days, because that was now Monday, One of the other days, again, in the conversations that I was having, I was urged to draw a card. And I chose, I don't even have it on the table here, I've kept the card out. But this comes from Goddess Love Oracle, I think it's called, the Goddess Love Oracle. I've combined the Goddess Love Oracle and the Goddess Dream Oracle into one deck because they're from the same creator, it's the same artwork, and I just thought they make such a beautiful combined deck. I'll show you, excuse me, stretching, but I keep it in here on my little display. And I'm not going to take it out, but I'm going to show you. You can see, oops, if I aim at the camera, the cards, some are purple and some are green. They are intermixed. I know it doesn't look like it, but the purple ones, the green ones, I should say, are the Goddess Love, and the purple ones are the Goddess Dream. Okay, so this card comes from the Goddess, gosh, I don't know, one of the goddesses, okay? I'm getting myself tongue-tied and twisted. So I drew it again, thinking about knowing when. And I was saying to Spirit, come, give me something. And I'm going to put, wrong hand. I'll display the card in the purple gap so that you can see it beautifully, so that you can see it clearly. But just look at this artwork. I mean, isn't it just, it's just so beautiful. So here we have, look at the serenity on her face, okay? So she is just so in the moment. It is card 13. It is the card of harmony and perfect balance. So knowing when, isn't that perfect balance? Knowing when, harmony, it's waiting for everything to be in the right place. It's waiting for, that's what we're doing. We're waiting for harmony. We're working towards harmony. We want perfect balance. But we're constantly saying to ourselves, only when this, and this happens will I have the harmony. Only when this, and this happens will I have that perfect balance. And again, the conversation from Spirit is saying, no, it's not conditional. Your harmony, your perfect balance is not conditional. Okay. So working through this card, working through this artwork, working through the conversation, these are the key points. And I think actually I'm going to take the picture off and let's put this on, and I'm going to zoom. I'm sure you can read that. Again, forgive the handwriting. There is no light without dark. There is no good without bad. There is no up without down, no life without death. We understand that, don't we? Absolutely. And no summer without winter. I mean, I would love to just have winter only because, yeah, summer is killing me at the moment. But we can't have one without the other. We all know that. We all recognize that. Are you living your life in a way that creates peace and harmony? Can you sit in the darkness knowing that it will pass and that the light will come on? Can you do that? Can you? We sit in state of stress, in state of anxiety, in state of apprehension, going, only when the light comes on will I feel safe. Only when the light comes on will I feel like it's going to be okay. Only when. But until then, I have no control. Until then, I'm going to feel like this. Until then, I need to be panicked and stressed. So let me read that again. Can you sit in the darkness knowing that it's going to pass and the light will come on and you will be okay? Can you do that? I don't know if many of us can. And I put myself into that category because we've experienced so much tragedy and so many situations. Our when, it's like, I can't actually be okay now until that happens. Only when the light comes on, only then am I okay. Right, carry on. Can you accept the low times in your life without anger or blame and know that happiness will take its place? Listen and watch the subtleties of life's rhythm and play in harmony with it. When you learn to do this, you will find, and this is the important bit, that you are no longer swimming against the current, but flowing in harmony with life. So friends, for those of you who are struggling, for those of you who are finding life full of challenges, it's because you're living your life by the whens. It's about knowing the whens. It's about knowing which whens are relevant and which whens are not. It's about knowing what is significant and what is not. And it's about allowing yourself to push through that. Okay. So again, listen and watch the subtleties of life's rhythm and play in harmony with it. When you learn to do this, you will find that you are no longer swimming against the current, but flowing in harmony with life. And this is what I want for you. This is what Spirit wants for you. Want you to flow in harmony with life. Okay. The next card. Oh, an interesting thing that came through. Well, and I got this from the guidebook, and it says, learn from the wisdom of the trees. They blossom when it is time to blossom. They fruit when it is time to fruit, and they rest when it is time to rest. They do not waste their energy in fighting that which they cannot change. Isn't that just so profound again? You know, when the time is right, the time is right, and we do it effortlessly. What we're all trying to do is hold the energy until the time is right, instead of just letting it unfold in the way that it needs to. All right. I drew another card, and this one was like so special. This is from Soul Cards. Okay, let me hold it this way. This comes from Soul Cards. Soul Cards have no guidebook. They have no meaning. They have no number. They have no name. Each of these cards is its own energy, if I can put it that way. There is no interpretation. You have to look at the card, and you have to just allow yourself to be guided. So working with Spirit Soul Cards are just so profound and just so absolutely awesome. So I will put it, wrong hand, I will put it on display there so that you can see it. My interpretation of this particular image, so if you look at it, and I might even make it bigger on the screen, I'll see when I get to the editing, but I want you to really look at this artwork as you listen to what I interpreted from this. It's time to open ourselves up to whatever potential is available, without exception. Without exception. What a thought, right? In this card, here is an example of being in the now, having trust and surrendering to whatever may happen. It's like they're opening their heart space to reveal what is inside. The eyes are closed, and this shows trust and no judgment or fear. We seem to live in fear of consequences. And again, this is not specifically wrong, but when it's preventing you from experiencing life, we need to question the concept and ourselves. I thought that was just so profound, just so profound. Again, conversation with Spirit. All right. You know, one of the other things that came through was this word, metacognition. I had never in my life heard this word. I thought, you know, oh, Spirit, and I'm making up words. I Googled it, okay, and it's a thing. Apparently, it's a thing. The context of it, I wasn't entirely sure of it. Like, I didn't quite know where we were going with this, but metacognition. Basically, it's the process that we go through, the process that humans, that our brains go through in order to retain, learn, and understand, okay? It's what we do to understand a situation so that we can solve it, all right? So the first thing we do is we predict. We predict outcomes, okay? It could go this way, it could go that way. This may happen, that may happen. We do the prediction. Then we do the checking. So if that's what I want, what do I need to have in place in order for that to happen? We need to check that we have the skills, that we have the equipment, that we have the materials, that we have the knowledge, the whatever it is. Okay, so first thing we have is the predicting, then we have the checking, then we have the monitoring, because now we have to constantly be checking in, constantly be monitoring the situation so that we achieve the goal, so that we accomplish whatever it is we want to. We also then have to do a little bit of reality testing. So because you don't want to be working towards something that's like an impossibility. So we constantly need to be doing a reality check-in to make sure that things are as they need to be. Then there's the whole coordinating, because now there's a whole lot of factors, people, scenarios, and situations that are coming into play before, anything can happen. So there's a lot of coordinating that needs to take place and a lot of controlling. So when you take all these kind of, I'm going to call them activities, all these wins, when we take all these activities, when we take all these wins and we realize how much energy and how much effort we're actually putting into controlling a win, you can understand why we're so exhausted. You can understand why we're all so stressed, why our fear and our anxiety levels are so high up, because there's a lot that's going on. This metacognition work that's happening. It's no wonder we're all pooped and exhausted and tired and like can't wake up in the morning, etc., etc. No wonder we can't sleep at night, because all of this is going on in the mind the whole time. Because Spirit is saying we're living our lives from one when to another. We need to learn to just understand there's a time and a place. There's a season for all things. And if it's not your season, if it's not your time, if it's not your place, let it go and focus on other things. Move away from that control the whole time. Okay. So friends, we're sort of getting to the end of my conversation with Spirit. Recording this, I have to say that obviously as I'm recording it, I don't have a script. I have a couple of scribbles. And, recording this now, listening to what I'm saying, it's sort of quite different from what I've written down there. But it's because it's like all the puzzle pieces have clicked in for me, okay? So I want to thank you for being part of my experience, part of my journey, and helping me understand my own connection to Spirit a little bit better. These conversations with Spirit are really interesting. And I also need to let go of the when. I started this recording off by telling you how much stress it brought me, because I was trying to control it. I was trying to metacognition the whole situation instead of just trusting and letting it go. So please learn from me, learn from my experience, learn from my bad planning. and let go of the whens. Trust that when the time is right, the words will flow. When the time is right, the situation will flow. When you're not chasing those wins anymore, when you start living, experiencing, and being spontaneous, because really that's what these videos are. I try to control it. I found it very overwhelming, the stress, the anxiety, whatever. I just push the record, I start talking, I'm being spontaneous, I'm just letting it flow, accepting whatever I get as truth, as honest, as pure, and passing it on to you. So take a little bit of that, take a little page out of my book and use it in your life. Be spontaneous. Every time you're saying, okay, I'm just waiting for, stop and say, why am I waiting for that? Is it absolutely necessary? Is there any way that you can achieve, do, and experience without waiting? If there is, please go for it. Please move towards that. Stop waiting for when, unless it absolutely have to, unless there is just absolutely no way around it. And just because you have that excuse that maybe there isn't a way around it, please don't fall into the trap of saying everything has that attached to it. I think I'm going to leave it there, friends, because gosh, I think it's been a lot. I have been talking for 47 minutes and 47 seconds as I looked at the timer. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for walking this road with me. And thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Spirit. With love and blessings from my heart to yours. And until we connect again, take care.